roll into this major topic today, which is, again, the importance of recording documents and why to record, what do we record. There's a lot that goes into this and so forth, which actually I already forgot. Let's step back and do my trials and tribulations before we get into that. So positive this week has been had a property that was a very difficult property. It's a property where we had like that $10,000 water bill. Knock on wood, I've got a cash buyer on that asset. Had this one for several years. The JV partner has been very patient. Also now turned into actually being experienced note investor during this time. But truth be told, we're kind of joking the other day where the realtor and the attorney are the ones who made the money on this deal. And I said his return is going to be between probably a Dunkin' Donuts and a Starbucks. And, that happens. And it's all about how you present it, how you go about it, and the communication during this entire time, just telling what was going on. At one point in time, we thought we could make a good amount of money on this, but the property was just left in, despair. And, some people had talked about knocking it down. So we're, happy to get that off our books. Now, could we have gone and renovated it and possibly, made a few bucks and so forth? Maybe, but the time, the effort that would take us away from doing our main focus, our main job, which is note investing, that's what you got to kind of make sure you don't do, is chase that shiny object. So that's the positive from what's happened this week. Some of the downside stuff I've been dealing with. Had a property that we took back and trying to sell, and there was some past due taxes on it. And because it's in Alabama, it got kind of put into like the tax sale lien department. They leave it open for somebody to bid on it for a period of time. So we're actually delaying our closing till that process stops. And I told the title agent, just have the buyer, I'll front the cash, buy the tax lien so we can figure out the closing. They didn't want to do that, so I don't know why, but we're going to have to wait it out. If somebody does buy the lien, I just got to pay it off. So whether or not they buy it, it doesn't matter, but it's just delaying closing, which delays, again, putting some money back into our pockets that we can get back out into that area. So something to look at, and, to be careful of is, on taxes. And sometimes, and this was one we knew were delinquent. We thought we had a little more time, and it was going to a lien, not a sale. So it wasn't the end of the world, but now it's, a mistake, and it's costing us a little bit. Okay. We've covered our trials and tribulations. So now let's talk about the meat of this episode, which is recording documents. And again, what, why, how, and those are the three main components really on documents. So let's start with kind of high level and why. So when we talk about recording documents, we're talking about a document, executed document, going to the county, being put in public record. So the reason you want to do that is to prove some type of claim against that property. There's deeds of trust and mortgages, which lenders want to get recorded because you want to show you have a lien position. There's deeds, which of course you want to get recorded, that shows who has ownership of the property, or should, because reality is anyone can sign a quitclaim deed over to anyone else, but we're not going to go there today. Assignments. This is probably the biggest component of note investors that you need to make sure you get recorded, are the assignments. So if you're investing in notes, strictly notes, not contract for deeds, that assignment, you want to make sure that it gets recorded. Now on contract for deeds, I'll just briefly touch base about them. You need to get the deed recorded along with potentially the assignment land contract, depending upon whether the land contract was or was not recorded. There was a Facebook post recently by a gentleman, Matt Kelly, which was excellent post. It was something I dealt with about 4 months ago that came to kind of bite me a little bit, but can really bite you hard. And another document you got to make sure that's recorded potentially is power of attorney. So if, companies have a power of attorney signing off on documents, you need to make sure that they have that power of attorney recorded somewhere. Typically, it needs to be recorded in that county. I know in Ohio, that has to be the case. So those are, the gamut. Again, assignments, power of attorneys. If you're originating something, a deed of trust or mortgage, now the note doesn't get recorded. Remember, the note is just an IOU between you and the borrower, which we covered on that last episode. The deed of trust is that security, that the ball and chain that ties that together. So, and then again, the deed also, if it's a contract for deed. So those are the items that get recorded, okay? Now, the question is going to be, how do you do that? And this is always a challenge because, when you buy a property, there's a title company. They handle it. They take care of the transaction for you. Now, in most of these instances with notes, there's no title company involved. It's you and the seller, and then they send you the documents after post-closing. So there's some companies out there that do this. And, they fluctuate in regards to price and also quality and time. And time is going to be very important in trying to get these recorded. And I'll share in my notes and bolts why that is important, why that is the case. So, a few companies that are out there, a company called Casey Wilson. They do collateral review. They can assist with recording documents. Richmond Morel, who I started using early on to do some of this. And I'll be honest, I found them to be extremely expensive. If there was like an exception, like something missing, they would charge you $100 for that, which to me is ludicrous. If you're missing an assignment, they're like, oh, $100. And that's not to record it. That's just for them to kind of put in a tracking system. So I don't know if I was new and just getting scammed by them and not paying attention to what they charge, but basically I just walked away from them. Another is Metasource, formerly Orion. They typically will take on people with a little bigger portfolio, usually need 20, 30 notes, in there, with them in order to kind of get their services. Another vendor who caters to a lot of investors that are, on the smaller scale, is KDK Services. Erica out of South Carolina. She, I believe, used to work for, whether Harbor or NAM or somebody, a large firm, and now has gone off on her own and does a great job. I send some stuff to her now as well. There's also, in today's time, e-recording. And e-recording is, you don't need any of these people to do it. As long as the paperwork's correct, you can go online, upload it, and e-record it. I think the most common website is Simplifile, simplifile.com. I know there's another one out there called CSC e-recording. They're kind of Coke and Pepsi competitors. I actually have memberships with both. And they basically cover the same, but, there's a little bit differences, which I can cover in another episode between the two. But I will find that, it's, $150 or $250 fee plus $5 for every recording to use these online ones. I find it's worth it because you control it. And the time is, you can just upload it, submit it. Like today, honestly, I'm going to go online and upload a bunch from a recent acquisition I got, upload the assignments and e-record them. Now, that's in probably, I don't know the percentage, I'd guess probably at least half the United States in most major areas that you can do that. So there's still areas where you have to also use a third party. But my recommendation is if you can e-record in a jurisdiction, that's what I would, that's definitely what I would recommend from that perspective. So I want to, again, so we talk about how, who, and kind of why. We briefly touch base on the reasoning of showing, but why, why is that important? Why do I care that, great, I show that I have a lien on that property, a first position mortgage on that property? Why, what's the point there? Morning cup of Joe. So many reasons. The first is, and every state, property tax takes jurisdiction. And if you don't have a loan being escrowed, or even if you do and taxes get missed and there's delinquencies and potentially it's going to go to sale, they notify all lien holders of record. So if you, for example, bought a note and had the assignment and didn't get recorded, just stuck it in a file somewhere and it was a non-performing asset, and trust me, this happens a lot. Or people just forget to record, or it's a they send it in and it was rejected and they take 3 months to get it back. This happens a lot because they get rejected for crazy stuff. I've seen stuff that I've submitted one after the other, same exact document with just different signatures, one approved, one rejected. It blows your mind. But I want to mention that because if they notify the lien holder, people who have an interest, the first, whoever that was assigned to, and you haven't got your assignment recorded, guess what? It's going to the old holder. And what are they going to do? I don't own this anymore. Throw it in the trash because they don't know if you own it. They don't know if you sold it. I'd say 99% of companies will not send that notification to you. And if they don't, shame on you, because you didn't get your document recorded. So you could have a property lost at tax sale because of that process. So that's the first, okay? What else could happen? Let's just say you originated a mortgage with somebody on a property, did seller financing, and you recorded the deed, but took your time because on the mortgage, because there was another issue. That person goes the next day, borrows 50 grand from his buddy, writes it up, slaps the lien, records it on there. It's going to be a problem, and again, depends on, in most states, it's what gets recorded first. It doesn't matter the date it's signed. Now you could, sue and so forth, but again, you're spending money. If you would have just make sure if you're recording a deed, or any, you record that mortgage as document as fast as possible. Definitely that's one. Another is, along with taxes, liens and judgments on properties. Sometimes on properties, somebody may have a lien or judgment, and then the lender will record that judgment in the county and then file for a foreclosure. And, they file for foreclosure. You're in first position, but guess what? You're not on record title. You may not even know what's going on. You may be spending money on legal as well and not even know it, which typically your attorney would want to see the recorded assignment and why that is important. But it's another avenue of kind of nobody knows, and people can be working in two different paths. A second or another lien could be foreclosing. You didn't record your assignment. They don't know who you are. I mean, they're not guessing. They look on when they run their title report, who's on title, not you. So they're notifying the other person. And same token, you could be starting legal and spending money too. So again, that's, very, very important as well. Same thing with an HOA. An HOA in these communities can put liens on the property. They notify the mortgage holders as well. So very, very important to get these documents recorded. I'll be the first to say I've had some that have taken a long time. I've had some that I would do in Simplifile and then it'll get rejected. Then I'd wait another month and, get it recorded. But, it's something you really got to make sure it should be one of your priority focuses, and it's paperwork. It's a pain in the, nobody likes to do paperwork. Let's be honest. Especially in this building, we want to buy. Where do we make our money? We make our money buying and reviewing tapes, and we're making workouts. That's what we enjoy doing because again, we're making money on that. Recording a document's kind of like doing your books on accounting. I actually enjoy doing my books, but this is one of those tasks that nobody likes to do. And sometimes you can hire somebody. Like I said, you hire somebody, and then it's like, okay, it's cost me a lot of money to do this, so I'll do the Simplifile e-recording. But you just need to make sure. And the reason, again, why this reduces so much risk, like I said, reduces so much risk. And let me share some case studies that I've had, and some of these are super recent. I bought, as many you know, a pool of assets last year, and one of those assets was in California. And we sent the it was a contract for deed, and I sent it to, now I'll say their name too, Metasource, back in October, November. The deed did not get recorded until May. So during that time, I was waiting and stuff, and again, COVID was happening, and all of a sudden, every 3-4 months, I send somebody by the property. And November, property was there and stuff, and actually looked like someone was living there. And then come basically right around when the deed got recorded, I sent somebody by. House was gone. It was demoed. Thankfully, I think I was in this one for, I don't know, $1,500 or $2,000. But the reason it is then I Google it, and basically there were some, during that time, basically the house got vandalized, some stuff happened, and basically the city came in, put out a bid, and knocked it down. And they notified all the lien holders or the owners, but guess what? I didn't get notified because my collateral review company couldn't get their crap together and took too long. And I let them know. I definitely let them know. And they go, oh, we recorded 300 deeds and this is the first one. It's like, I don't care if it's the first one. Why did it take so long? And this is kind of my mentality of how I operate. It's great. That happened in a sense of you effed up, but stop making excuses. How are you going to avoid doing this again in the future? What are your processes and your systems that track this stuff? Because it's not acceptable. And how this is being done is not acceptable. And I've noticed over the last year, a lot of these companies have gotten much, much worse. And I think they've downsized. I think they got newer people in. And it's been very, very challenging. And I know other investors who I work with and speak with frequently had some of the same problems. And that's why we've kind of shifted to go talk to other individuals and work with others. That's one. Another was, actually, this is interesting. The county basically misindexed a assignment that I had on a property. And the reason was, there's 2 property addresses, but we had the right PIN number, but they put it in the other one. When it came up for a tax lien and went out, basically we were never notified. And then it was coming up for tax sale. And, I called up scrambling and I said, why wasn't I notified? And they looked it up and like, well, you're not on record. I'm like, oh no, I am. They realized it was misindexed. They actually, pulled it from the sale because it was an error on their part and basically waived the fees. I said, hey, I'll pay the taxes today, but I'm not paying the fees. So they waived the fees, waived everything, and got that resolved as well. But it was some chaotic moments there on some of those things as well. Another interesting case study I have is on a contract for deed. I had title to the property, and the borrower on the contract for deed, which this is a whole nother case study. This one's awesome. He signed somebody else up for a contract for deed on the property. That person defaulted. He got some scumbag attorney to foreclose on that guy when he wasn't even the proper ownership. The county stepped in, or the judge issued him the foreclosure and issued him the deed. I get a letter in the mail saying, hey, there's a discrepancy or something's going on here. Same time we realized this when I was looking to sell the asset, and the person ran a title report and said, hey, you're not on here. The borrower's name's on title. We dig through this and find this out. And again, this was all happening around the same time. And, essentially I pretty much had to sue the guy, which his attorney would not respond. I wonder why. So I told him, I said, you need to get a new attorney because you're just racking up legal fees on this thing right now. And you're just going to keep paying, and you got good equity in this property. Every time, it's $1,000 almost every time I got to do something. And, we've already spent $2,000. You can keep paying. because I'm just going to first of all, you're going to lose the house because it's for forfeiture. But if you want to keep the house, this is just getting tagged on to the bill. Finally, I think he realized it, spoke to another attorney, and the other attorney told him, whoa, whoever you hired on here, don't ever use this person again. If you ever work with attorneys, the first things they ask before you send demands and stuff is, prove to me that you own this, and this person never provided any proof. He couldn't have, because he didn't own the property, that he was the person on title in that sense. So, these are some of the things that can happen, go wrong when documents aren't recorded. So it's definitely something that you want to focus on. So, what are some of the tips that I'll provide to share with you in regards to trying to work this process? One is, if you're using a third party, stay on top of them. I would say every 2 weeks. Every week is too fast, honestly, but every 2 weeks, just check in. So, check in and say, hey, curious if you heard anything. And also start to understand how long it takes. Lake County, Indiana, takes a very long time. Other counties might be a little quicker for documents that are getting sent out. So, if you're sending them out, set the expectations, get an understanding, make sure you follow up. And I put in my email little ticklers, basically a follow up every 2 weeks when I've got stuff being recorded that is out the door. Second, spend the money and do an e-file system with Simplifile or CSC or another system. I'm not getting paid by any of them to say their names. Those are the ones I use, but definitely recommend doing that. And if you've got stuff come in the door, I highly recommend you scan it, you upload it, and spend, an hour a week or whatever it is, making sure that you stay on top of it, because it is so, so important to make sure you've got those documents in line. And the best time to do that, honestly, is, when the loan's being boarded, because you can't do the workouts. Nothing's being done. It's being transferred. The seller sends you those documents, which should be, within a few weeks. The moment you get them, stick them in the scanner, upload them, and put them in Simplifile, submit them, and then, make sure they're right, because sometimes they're wrong or the seller missed something. It's much easier to go back to that seller 2 weeks, a week after you got it, than it is 4 months later, because they're going to be much more reactive. So kind of a little note and bolt there, which we'll talk about a little more in a bit. So that's kind of, my second tidbit on that. And kind of the third, which plays into a little bit of when you are buying assets, and this kind of should be upfront, push to get those documents from the seller. When am I getting them? When am I getting them? Because a lot of times they'll send the collateral before they'll send those documents, and you get 2 packages. But try and push. If it's a seller you've worked with for a while, they're usually very, very good. So even if it's just, hey, can I get an electronic copy? Because I'm just going to I can upload it, send it in, and wait for the original. But curious, also, what are some of the things you guys find to assist your systems in getting stuff recorded? I'd love to hear what some of these things are. Put them in the YouTube page, the show notes, notes and bolts group. I'd really appreciate what it is that you guys find as well. So with that, we are now going to kind of wrap up this episode and go over to the notes and bolts side, which I'm going to hit